go, feel free to sneak out. I'm gonna talk a little bit and close this thing out. I am not a doctor or a researcher. I am a Chordoma survivor, a staff member at the Chordoma Foundation, and an enthusiastic participant in our community. So I will first of all, say thank you so much for being here. Your presence is vital. I mean, it's vital to our mission. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without participation from our community and patients advocating for themselves, sharing their stories, connecting with each other, spreading awareness. So something I want to focus on today on that note is empowerment, empowering yourself and other people in our community. It's especially crucial to do that when you're facing a rare disease like chordoma. And I find in my own life it not only benefits me personally, but it's strengthening our community and accelerating our collective progress. So as I go through these slides, I just encourage you to sort of think about ways in which you might make a positive impact in not only your own life, but in the lives of others around you in the chordoma community. It's so important, and the only way to make a big impact is to do it together. And the existence of the Chordoma Foundation itself, thanks to Josh, and the community we have built around it is proof of that. So I'll just share a tiny bit about my story. I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details. I'm sure there are details that sound familiar to many of you. I am a sacral survivor, but like so many of us, my journey began with a misdiagnosis. I was actually, I think, 11 years old the first time I became aware of a pilonidal cyst on my tailbone. I used to call it a marble, and I just knew, like, oh man, I've got this weird marble. I'm kind of uncomfortable when I'm sitting, but doctor said it'll go away in adolescence, super common, nothing to worry about. Well, it was something to worry about. About a decade later, when I was 21 years old, I came to be diagnosed with a sacral chordoma. I'm very lucky that I immediately became a patient at MD Anderson Houston under Dr. Larry Rines, who's my hero. I immediately felt so confident that I was in the best hands possible, and we made a plan. That's not true. Dr. Rines made a plan, and I said, okay. He actually made a plan A and a plan B and a plan C and explained them all to me in great detail in a way I could understand, and also to my family. And I said, yeah, okay, let's do this. So I graduated college and came home and had a big surgery. We went with Plan C, if anyone was curious. It went great. I felt so well cared for the entire time by not only the incredible staff and the entire team at MD Anderson, but also by my family who's here today, which is just an amazing full circle moment for me. I know it sounds weird to say that I feel lucky, because I think people would argue that being diagnosed with a 1 in a million bone cancer is not so lucky, but I feel extremely lucky in so many ways. My family, first of all, never left my side as I learned how to sit up, to roll over, to walk, to take care of myself, and perhaps the hardest of all, how to ask for help when there were things that I could not do. They did tell me initially that I would be in the hospital for 6 weeks, and thanks to my family and my PT and OT team and my diligent nurses and Dr. Rines, I was out of there in less than 2 weeks. So I feel very blessed that my hospital stay I have no complaints. I felt incredibly well taken care of the whole time. I found that leaving the hospital was just the end of one chapter and the beginning of the rest of the novel, which is the long-term healing process, which obviously involves not just the body, but also mind, spirit, emotions, all of it. I learned a lot during that time. I learned that every small step is a victory. I learned that there will be hiccups and road bumps and frustrations. Sometimes it feels like at every turn, but that's okay. I learned that it takes time, and you don't get to decide how much time it's going to take to heal. So it took time for me to be able to get to a point where I had the time and the space to look backward and gain perspective and to see how far I had come. I realized I didn't really process things fully as they were happening. I was a student with a life. I was finishing school. I was diagnosed with this crazy thing that I think Alyssa said it so well earlier. It never crossed my mind that cancer would be a part of my journey as a young adult. So I realized I sort of went into survival mode to take care of all the things I needed to take care of, to be strong for myself, to be strong for my family. I think I was in shock looking back. It took so much time to really process, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my life? My life has just changed in a huge way. I've got a whole new facet of who I am and how I live my life. Not just physical changes, but emotionally and mentally. And I do remember telling the doctors, though, I was way more worried about my family dealing with it than myself. At every appointment, they checked my vitals and my blood pressure, and I always made sure to ask if they would also like to check my mom and dad's blood pressure as well, because it was probably higher than mine. When I was able to look back and recognize the journey that I'd been on, I had to seek support. I realized I needed support, not just from medical professionals, but also from counselors, therapists, support groups. I wanted someone else who understood what I had been through. So I would say the most pivotal moment in my healing journey came when I became more involved in the Chordoma Foundation. I found them pretty quickly after diagnosis, because when you Google Chordoma, you see a lot of scary things, but one of the other first things that pops up is the Chordoma Foundation. And I did a little fundraiser at my college campus. I made some t-shirts and raised a little bit of money and participated in some virtual support groups, and that was all well and great. And I realized that I had found a community that not only provided me with information and resources, which was incredibly empowering, but also hope and solidarity and understanding. It's such a relief and a weight off your shoulders, it was to me, when I realized there were people who already sort of had the baseline understanding, because I found myself getting exhausted having to explain the cancer thing to people who looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you're so young." I was taking on so much emotional work trying to explain it to everyone that it was okay. So the relief of finding a community where we know, we get it, we understand that part, then allowed me to find an even deeper level of connection and support about issues that, when I found the young adult survivorship group, I just never thought I'd speak to another person who understood what it was like to be in your 20s and to get a chordoma diagnosis. So that connection was really transformative, because I wasn't just managing a disease, because in every way with my medical treatment, I felt extremely lucky. It went very well, even though I came from not ideal circumstances. My tumor had been messed with previous to surgery. They didn't even know it was chordoma. I felt like everything was going so well and I was healing physically, but now I was rebuilding my life and myself to deal with a diagnosis that disrupted my life and changed my life. So I sort of decided that I didn't want to just be a survivor. I wanted to be an advocate and a source of support for other people. When I was diagnosed, I'm sure many of you can relate, there's a feeling of helplessness, that there's nothing I can really do. I'm grateful that I have these brilliant surgeons who are going to do all the hard work. I felt helpless and hopeless and isolated and stuck, like my whole life is different now. And empowerment for me really began with education, first and foremost. Learning about chordoma, learning about treatment options, recognizing how to advocate for myself in the medical setting. It turned from helplessness to empowerment, something that I could do, action that I could take, something I could have control over. I also learned about the work that the foundation was doing to improve the lives of those affected by chordoma, all of the research in the lab, and every piece of information was a tool for me to take fear and turn it into hope, to take anxiety and turn it into optimism. So my sense of isolation diminished dramatically. I met other people who walked similar paths, who understood the challenges and the fears. It was just a network of meaningful connection that expanded so exponentially, so quickly, a whole new world filled with shared experiences and mutual support. And I knew immediately, I want to be a part of that. I want to contribute to that. So I participated in some groups, volunteered a little bit, and eventually had the biggest blessing of my life to be able to work for the Chordoma Foundation, and it was just a huge lesson in no matter how difficult the transition or the situation or the diagnosis seems, there's always a pathway to making a meaningful impact, to giving it meaning in my own life and in the lives of others. So I found that that sense of connection was extremely empowering, and the foundation has so many ways to do that, from online communities that we host, like our Facebook group and our online platform, Chordoma Connections, and I've had the wonderful opportunity to see the way that other people participating in that develop their own interpersonal friendships and groups. And now some of us young adults have an Instagram chat where someone can be like, hey, has anyone had their cortisol tested? Who did radiation and is dealing with this? It's just amazing to see the support, the companionship, the way that so many people open their hearts so quickly to help other people that they know are affected by chordoma. And the support groups are a massive help to me, especially we've got a group for patients, for caregivers, for adolescents and young adults. We've got various international communities who have started their own support groups. It's an opportunity to ask questions. I loved today seeing how quickly everyone was willing to sort of break the ice. I know we talked about bowel and bladder pretty early in the morning, and that did a pretty good job of opening everyone up. But when you know the scope of what you're dealing with, people are just able to become very fast friends. And I really appreciate that. You forge friendships, and now I have friends literally across the globe who have also this rare thing. It's just incredible. Our peer guide program, I do volunteer as a peer guide. It provides a little bit more personalized care if you're wanting to talk to someone else who had specifically sacral chordoma S2 down and is dealing with X, Y, and Z. That's just a way for you to, receive some more one-on-one time with someone who might have a chordoma journey that was a little more similar to yours. As we know, all of our journeys are so different. But sometimes it's nice to have someone who gets the exact issue that you're dealing with. Sometimes that's the most comfort that you can sort of have. On that same note, our uncommon stories on our website was one of the first things I did when I found the website, was just read about other people who are living with this thing, and to see the variation and the scope. And it's amazing to me to get to hear from other patients and survivors who are living every day, and it never ceases to inspire me. And that's something that, if you haven't submitted your story, put it on the website. Other people will be inspired and empowered, and you never know, someone might stumble upon your story and say, oh, that's sort of similar to what happened to me. I talked to a guy the other day who's a middle-aged man who said, hey, they told me I had a cyst too. And it was neat to be able to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person in the world that happened to. I think the power of community has obviously made itself known today. It's important, though, to strengthen our collective voice in the world. We get to hear about this amazing research happening, and the more people that know about chordoma and know a chordoma patient and then talk to someone else who's never heard of chordoma, it's this beautiful ripple effect. And there are ways that you can contribute to that. You can put yourself on our map on our website. It's pretty cool to be able to see how many people in the world and find other patients. I had lunch with another chordoma patient the other day who lives in Chicago, and he does live in chordoma right now as well. We all do, but I never thought that I would be sitting having a sandwich with someone else who has chordoma. It's incredible, and it's great to spread awareness. So many of us have the experience of, oh, you have what? I've never heard of that. Even, unfortunately, speaking with doctors who say, you have what? I've never heard of that, which is a terrifying experience. But there are so many ways that you can get online, subscribe to our newsletter, get your loved ones to subscribe to our newsletter, look at our social media, share something on Instagram. The more people know about chordoma, the better. And most importantly, know that your voice is valuable. We want to hear it. Reach out. Your contribution matters. Every single interaction enriches our community and reinforces the notion that Even though we have this rare disease, we're not alone. There is a community here, there is support, there are options, there are resources. It's vital to the journey, to fighting hopelessness. Another big part of that is fundraising. I mean, that's where empowerment, community, and support all converge to create a obviously tangible impact on chordoma research and care. The whole Chordoma Foundation itself and its origin story is a narrative of patients, families, and friends getting together to make a difference. And every effort, no matter the size, it plays a crucial role. It helps our ability to help patients travel, to get access to clinical trials. It helps us advance the research. The fact that there are scientists who their whole job is just researching chordoma only exists because enough people cared to make that happen. I would say by participating in a fundraiser or creating one, you're the prime example of taking a direct and positive action that extends beyond your individual experience to benefit the entire community. I just spoke to a really cool member of our community yesterday about a fundraiser he's going to do this year. He's going to walk 72,000 steps to raise money for the Chordoma Foundation, and he's going to set it all up online, and it's really easy. And he told me, if anyone's ever curious about fundraising, you tell them they can call me and we'll see what they can do. So if you're curious at all about how you can support, volunteer, participate, brainstorm, it's important to find a way to contribute that's meaningful and important to you. Please reach out. We're here to support and make it happen. Every effort counts. Every contribution helps us move closer to our goal. And the small actions lead to significant outcomes. So, for example, I was talking to a patient the other day actually who initially started out doing, their child was graduating from college and they did a little fundraiser, and someone in their community attended and was so touched by what they saw that they started donating a monthly gift, and then their neighbor also decided to donate a monthly gift, and before they knew it, their whole neighborhood said, why don't we do a neighborhood event and start making it an annual thing? They all just joined in immediately to support. It was absolutely beautiful to see the way that people who don't necessarily even know what chordoma is, but they know you, and they know it's something that you are facing, and they want to help, and they open their heart or their home or their mind. It never fails to, I have goosebumps right now, it never fails to amaze me. So even when you're in this situation that sometimes feels frustrating or hopeless or confusing, there are ways that you can contribute, and you should. The ripple effect that I talked about earlier, I see it every day now at my job, which is the coolest thing I'll ever get to say. But I'm so grateful. I really feel like Josh said earlier, it's this club that none of us asked to be a part of, but it's the coolest club. It's the best people I've ever met in my life, and I always think, is it totally just by chance that the people in this community are so incredible? Is it the effect that the perspective that we have? I don't question it for too long, because I just let it be the amazing thing that it is, the miraculous thing that it is. So I just want to thank you all again for your attention, your courage, your willingness to be a part of this day. Every single one of us has such a unique story and a unique journey, and it matters. Your story is a powerful tool for change, for positive change for yourself in your own life, for advocating for yourself, but also for advocating for others, and for creating a future where there aren't so many unanswered questions and so many moments of confusion and frustration and pain. So I encourage you to just think about what makes your journey unique, what gives you strength, and how you can use that to give something positive back to our community. So thank you again. Your presence today speaks volumes about your commitment to our cause. We are here for you. We want to make things as easy for you as possible. If you want to participate in any way, I want to find the way to help you do that in a way that's meaningful to you and easy for you, and gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling that I have right now. And to keep those connections alive that you feel today, that you've begun to foster today. If this was your first time ever meeting another chordoma survivor, or meeting someone who had a similar journey to yours, it never doesn't feel that good. I'll tell you, my first time meeting a chordoma survivor was last May, and every time it's still just as amazing. So thank you again for joining us. Together, we're not just survivors, we're not just patients, we're beacons of hope and forces for change. And even though we are 1 in a million, we're never alone. Thank you so much.